Welcome everyone to SAM Brief with GhostDog and Figmo. This will begin a series on the various surface-to-air threats that you'll find in DCS. It'll talk about their history, their usage in the real world, and how you can defeat them in both period-correct and more modern weapon systems in that simulator. Where possible, we're also going to show you how to use them as well, and we'll focus our particular episode as a pilot episode today. We'll be working on the format, explaining what we plan on showcasing. So here is the plan. First of all, a little bit about me and my co-host Figmo. I'm GhostDog. I've flown combat sims since the early 90s, and I've had a huge focus on F-16s across the years. My favourite era would be the Vietnam War era, so Phantoms, Lightnings, Intruders, kind of your third generation of jet aviation. I think it would provide the most challenge for pilots and the best systems for something approaching modern combat. Over the years I've flown countless sorties in Falcon BMS and DCS with large groups, including up until recently United Operations Air Force and more recently with the Tactical DCS community. You'll find me mostly by the following methods. You can get me by email, you can catch me on Discord using that contact detail there, and you've also got my live stream on Twitch, which is admittedly on. It's not always available. Of course, you can also find me on YouTube, so don't be afraid to say hi in the comments, ask your questions, and I'll do my best to provide the answers that you're looking for. I'll turn you over now to Figmo. He'll tell you a bit about himself, and he'll tell you what he plans on showing you here.
Hello everybody, my name is Figmo42 or Figmo, and I'm here working with GhostDog on this SAM Brief series. A little bit about myself. As you can see in the slide here, I'm a student moving towards a degree in contemporary military history. I've been flying flights since about 2014, mostly BMS, but also some DCS. My favourite era of study and also sort of technology is the Cold War, sort of the contemporary modern era with a focus on naval and air power. As mentioned there on the slide, the UAF and the Falcon Lounge and several other smaller splinter groups. And I'm contactable over Discord, over the Falcon Lounge Discord, and you can find my details on the Falcon Lounge website. Looking forward to working with GhostDog, and hopefully we can do a bit of educating you all. I'll be handling the sort of technical specification segments and also debriefing via tech views. Yeah, and that's it from me. Looking forward to working on this.
Okay, thanks very much, Figmo. A little bit now about how the series is going to work. So, first of all, you'll have a short history on the development of the chosen subject of the series. We'll then go into a bit of the technical specifications, so we'll turn over to Figmo and he can tell us a little bit about its range, its altitude, its speeds, its capabilities, and how mobile it is. We'll then talk a little bit about the radar types you're going to see associated with that weapon system, and what bands they tend to operate on, because that's actually useful to the Figan pilots in DCS with the jammer. If possible, we'll then go into how they're used by the operator, ideally with a demonstration using a system called SamSim, which I'll explain later. Then we'll turn over to DCS for the mission editor. We'll compare photographs of actual SAM sites on the ground to how we can place them in DCS and see how close we can get to that. And then we'll have them attack us inside the actual sim itself. Once we've defended, we'll then roll in and we'll work an offensive strategy out where we can engage and hopefully destroy or suppress that SAM system and prevent it from attacking anyone else in the sim again. We'll not just use one aircraft in DCS, we'll use a range, so there'll be both contemporary and period correct aircraft of the time that it was at its height as used. We'll use historical weapon systems, but then we'll also repeat the attack using more modern equipment and more current weapon systems. The intention being there to really show you the difference in tactics and the kind of options that are now available to modern combat pilots. Then we'll go to TAC View and we'll evaluate both performances with Figmo's help, and he'll tell me a little bit about what could have gone better, what didn't go so well, and what we could try the next time when we see you in the skies on the next run. Now we do use a few different pieces of software, a few different sources and a few different tools available to us throughout this entire episode and series. So you'll see DCS, of course, for most of our practical stuff, our 3D work. We'll use TAC View to analyze and showcase tactics that you can use at a high level overview. And SAM Simulator itself, which is a program from about 2005, which allows us to demonstrate the actual systems from the operator standpoint and what they see on their screens. So that should give you some insight as to how things work and why processes take as long as they do or as short as they do. We also regularly use the following sources. So I regularly consult the Falcon Lounge's Threat of the Week blog by Figmo. Great articles, fantastic writer, very accessible, and very frequently updates his content with the latest information that he has, and is currently in the process of fleshing out and revising the blog to make it meet more modern standards, shall we say. I also regularly consulted ausairpower.net for the first 2 or 3 episodes, so they've got lots of publicly available articles about placement in SAM systems, capabilities, and basic history overviews that are huge reams of data to trawl through, so if you really want to take a deep dive, it's there for you. And then we've got geimint.blogspot.com, not as active. They've only been running, the last post was 2006, but all the image analysis that they have done is a really good source for photos of SAM sites placed out there in the countries that still use these systems, so we can see a variety of different methods by which you can have them placed, and we can compare that when we're doing the DCS mission editor. We'll also be citing various footnotes and descriptions where possible at the bottom of each page where relevant. Now, we'll now give you an idea of just a general idea of what various SAM systems look like. So first of all, what is SAM? Well, SAM is surface-to-air missile. You'll find most of the guided missiles, these are designed primarily to defend airspace from enemy aircraft. They can be used for theatre or tactical defence. There's not a particular definition that says they're only short range or they're only long range. They have a wide range. They are easily the most sophisticated and expensive to own or operate. They also generally offer the longest range capabilities as well. There's a few ways you can guide them. The most common ones are radar. You've got infrared or thermal. And you've got optical methods as well, where you can just see in the visual spectrum. Most of them have a mix of some or all of these as either primary, secondary, or backup sites. There are some examples in the picture there. You have on the left an SA-2 missile. The entire system is a little bit hard to put in a small photo, so there's just the missile. In the middle we have the SA-8. That's a radar-guided system for short-range defence of, say, a convoy. You also have there on the right the SA-9, which is another short-range system, infrared, and in the background you can actually just see a AAA system, the Shelka by the looks of it. So that brings us neatly onto AAA. What is AAA? And I don't mean the American Automobiles Association. We're talking about these systems here. Anti-aircraft artillery. I would usually define this as something that shoots high-speed, high-caliber rounds at the enemy. It's a big gun. Okay, many of them have multiple barrels, although that's not specifically what makes AAA AAA. They are designed to defend SAM sites and convoys against attack aircraft, so much more closer in, but more shorter range, and it wouldn't be uncommon for these to actually be operating and defending very close to the area that they're working with. They may well also be used to defend things like specific strategic objectives as well when things are in close and you've gone below the SAM radar or something like that, but we'll talk about tactics later. They can be guided with much the same methods that the SAM systems do. So you'll see radar guided systems, you'll see infrared systems, and you'll see optically guided systems. So for example, on the left there you see a 23-2, which is a fixed positioned item, rerun with a 2 or 3 man crew. And when that one's shooting, they usually have the gunner aiming optically at the target, although it can also be linked up to a radar for more longer distance work. The Shellcat on the right also has the same idea, where it has its own radar. It can optically guide, but it can also be laid on by radar for longer and higher altitude ranges. They are usually shorter range though than SAMs nonetheless, and they usually have lower maximum altitudes because there is limits to how far a bullet can travel, even big ones. And as a result, they're not as large or as expensive to own or operate. They're usually more numerous as a result, so you will probably find more of these than you will SAM systems in most theatres. Now, the most numerous thing that you'll find, especially when you're in close, and the biggest threat I would say to helicopters and low-flying aircraft are these guys, MANPADS. Funny name, but it stands for Man-Portable Air Defence Systems. You'll find these are designed to be very simple to operate, very small, usually operated by a small team of 2 or 3 soldiers, and obviously they're pretty easy to use. They have to make them soldier proof. You'll find that they're usually shoulder fired, tube launched, and they're usually self-defense. They're the last resort. If you, as a pilot, have killed all the AAA and all the SAM systems, or you've negated them or neutralized them, then this is the last thing that the soldiers have to defend against you and your incoming rockets. Guidance is primarily infrared or optical because it's just not really feasible to point a decent sized radar dish on the back of a man. And as a result, they'll have the shortest range of the 3. They're usually, however, really hard to detect because they're the size of a person, which in DCS is tiny. That means they can be also placed almost anywhere: top of a cliff, edge of a mountain, top of a building, in a compound. All the kind of places you wouldn't be able to put a vehicle or a SAM system, you can find these in an area where they want to defend. As a result, there's an extremely severe threat of ambush at low altitudes, so I will throw out there that if you're a helicopter, you should be on the lookout for these guys as much as, if not more, than things like SAMs and AAA systems. And if you're a jet fighter, you should either try not to be low, and if you have to go low to avoid the SAMs, you want to be going through fast and getting out of that area as quickly as you possibly can. There's some examples there. On the left we have the SA-7 popping out of its tube, and the Stinger on the right. The Americans came up with the same idea, much the same anyway. A few important words to say. I want to thank a few people. So first of all, Figmo for joining me on this episode series. He's obviously the original subject matter for the Threat of the Week, which was definitely my inspiration for this. You also have Jack Turkey, or Aaron Amick as he prefers now. He's the inspiration for the show format. I'm sure you can see some parallels. And Tactical Pascal has recently done a series called In Harm's Way, or started one where he focused on the DCS. I wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive using things like TacView, SAM systems, and other things. So he's given me certainly the initial ideas and the broad overview. I want to do a bit more detail than that, hopefully, for the people who have the inquiring mind. Eagle Dynamics, of course, deserves special mention for developing DCS World and giving me all these flight sims and aircraft to fly with. Fantastic series, and if you want to get started with combat flight sims, it's free to download, and you can fly the Su-25 as in a combat environment, dropping weapons, dropping bombs, firing missiles, and trying some of this stuff yourself. We'll see how you do. SAM Simulator is also free, and It's made by a Hungarian. I think the last revision was 2005, so it's an old series now, but very well detailed and intricately modelled. Lots of manuals and in a variety of languages, so don't be afraid. Take a dive if you plan on giving it a go. Also, TACView, a fantastic product, and one I highly recommend for anyone wanting to do any kind of debrief or analysis of a combat sortie. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a serious combat pilot and you want to do this kind of stuff in Sim, you need to be able to evaluate your work. This is how you do it. And other than that, I'll let you be with just a short disclaimer that I need to list. So we have the music from the intro with credit to Eric Matthias, and a short disclaimer: the featured content is intended for entertainment purposes only, and the authors do not intend for this to be used academically. However, considerable effort has been placed in providing sources and references where available. It should be pointed out that neither the author nor his guests, to the best of their knowledge, have accessed or disseminated any classified data, tactics, or sources. Other than that, I will see you sometime after now. Thank you very much and good day.